Everyone, it's me Varus, and we are back with another weather video, another update, a little more frequent than my last couple videos as they've been weeks, almost a month apart. So I decided, hey, I'm gonna try my best, start uploading more, and that starts with today's upload. So it's gonna be not too long, relatively shorter, but it'll be pretty much everything that's gonna be covered in the next week or 2 weeks or so. So let's get right into it. So we'll start out with current alerts and relatively quiet. You do have some winter weather advisories and winter alerts over here. A couple of winter storm warnings, mainly due to lake effect snow off of the UP of Michigan, northern Michigan, areas of Minnesota, extreme eastern Minnesota, northeastern Minnesota. Sorry about that. Extreme northwestern Pennsylvania, Erie County, Buffalo, New York, Watertown under winter storm warning, so all that just lake effect. You have a couple of special weather statements here due to the cold, maybe some freezing fog, mainly wintry indices over here, and then dense fog advisories over here in the Pacific Northwest, so Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. And then into California, you got freeze warnings and freeze watches, as well as some winter storm warnings and advisories as it starts to become very cold over there in the west. And we start to get a little more precipitation that's helping to prevent some of those dangerous fires we had in areas of California. Prayers up for any victims. Towards Colorado and New Mexico, you got a couple of indices, and then central Nebraska, you also have some red flag warning, so this could also be dry air, and so that means these special or hazardous weather outlooks or special weather statements could just be due to fire related indices, so just be careful over there. But overall, nothing too noteworthy. Now, let's get into a couple weather events this week and getting into the weekend. And I'm going to start you guys off on the RGEM model. This is a Canadian model, short range model, 84 hours out. And we're going to watch this little clipper system that actually dives through and affects the north and east. So, this is starting around, I'd say around afternoon, evening of today, of Monday. So we start bringing this forward. This is getting into overnight. This energy could definitely reinforce some of this lake effect snow and bring kind of a squall line actually up to the north. So that's interesting. Our clipper energy starts to dive in from the north and east over, well, way over in Minnesota. Now, as the squall line progresses, it does start to break up. Now, depending on how far south this could get, it could affect areas just north and west of I-95. Whether it might make it to I-95, but it won't be that big of impacts. Mainly north of there is where impacts are likely, especially north of I-80, I-76 is where higher impacts will be. But that comes through in the morning and then breaks up by noontime, and then here comes our clipper towards mid-afternoon, I'd say, of Tuesday, and it starts to dive down. So you start to see some precipitation getting into reinforcing again lake effect snow, and starts to get more into areas of Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, or overall the whole state of New York. Now, this is mainly because of some warm air advection, okay? This is kind of signaling our pattern change, okay? We're gonna have a system this weekend that I'll talk about more, but this is just diving through and it's classic warm air advection snowfall. And you can see some warm air advection actually causing more rain along for like Erie, for example. It might actually be more rain than snow because of daytime heating and some more increased warm air advection. You can see that directly if you're directly off the lakes. If you're a little more inland, you should be fine. This is about 3 p.m. tomorrow, so this clipper was actually looking way more impressive a couple days ago, but recently it has downtrended. I will be honest about that. But I mean, these do sometimes overperform. Not saying it will, but let's see what happens. But as this comes through, you continue to see some precipitation. Boston, for example, could get into this. I do think it will be some snow for you guys, some wet snow. Not much accumulations, though. As you can see, it's very scattered in nature, and in the nation for tomorrow. Now, that also might actually bring a secondary squall line over here. We'll have to watch that. That is the one that might make it down to the quarter. Who knows? We'll keep watching that. And then we go out, and that's our Saturday storm, which I'll show you on the European model. So, switching our focus after the Clipper system, what happened? So, there's our Clipper, more impressive on the Euro, for example. Wants to maybe bring even some snow to New York City. We'll see how that looks on radar tomorrow. As that swings out, you start to bubble up some energy right into the central US. There could be a severe threat with this. I really do think so. With straight Gulf moisture, it's not strong, but a retreating cool air mass, we could see some, and then the low pressure right here. We could see some more like straight line wind type severe weather rather than like hail, for example. But some straight line winds, damage possibly, but definitely looks like some uh, intriguing rain and storms. As this lifts up, you start to see this colder air continue to back off. We were thinking maybe this high pressure stays in place and actually causes a cold air damming situation, but that's looking less and less likely, and you can see that as that heads up. Now, you start to see the low. This is your typical cutter system, and we haven't had a cutter in a very long time. You have that comma head signature, so you have severe weather likely over here, warm or cool, some type of weak cool front passing behind it, and then some light, weak warm air advection coming up, and that's about it. And then you got some snow breaking out up here, where colder air is still kind of there and high pressure is still established. So this is getting into what, Friday morning, so it starts to get later into Friday and then into the weekend. You start to see this kind of weaken out, and you start maybe get some thunderstorms out onto the East Coast. And as the wintry aspect, I mean higher elevations, okay? So upstate New York, maybe some areas of Ohio, Pennsylvania, extreme northern Pennsylvania and Ohio, northern New Hampshire and Vermont, and maybe some areas of northern Maine. So this is not even for interior. This is like way more interior. Now, behind this, we do see actually a push of colder air, and so some areas could change over. But this mainly just looks like a cold rain event for many, and then we see what happens after that. So, talking about heights and our pattern. So, there's our clipper energy you see comes through, and then we start to see a moderation. That is our cutter system this weekend, and then we start to see some moderation. Now, we do kind of get the split zonal flow with, here, let me make my marker a little thicker. We start to see the split zone flow that kind of comes along like this. A ridge over here, causing warmer temperatures, and then a little trough out here. But it's not like very designated. It's not very notable, so that's why it's more of a zonal flow. Now, it does get a little interesting over here. February 4th, this model has actually been trending colder and colder for the later periods. It was originally looking warm, so we'll have to just keep up with trends. But eventually, I still think as we get into February, especially by the second week, we'll have negative PNA, aka cooler temperatures in the west, and warmer temperatures in the east, and that's pretty rare. We haven't seen that really so far this winter, and then that looks to stick around. And then after that, this is getting very far out, but after that, we already see signals of the west warming back up, and a trough digging down, and maybe, just maybe, getting the east on a cooler pattern. Now it does something kind of weird and puts a trough and kind of gets a zonal flow once more. So that's the GFS model. You'd have to look at all, but let's just see what trends have, and we'll get a much better idea by the end of this week. Now, what does the Climate Prediction Center say? Warmer temperatures likely. This is a very La Nina look, and we see warmer temperatures for the southern tier and cooler temperatures for the northern tier. Simple like that. And overall for the western US for the 8 to 14 days. So February 4th to 10th. So through the first and second weeks of February. So that's the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. And as we get into the precipitation outlook, we actually have above average, and I think that's going to be very I agree with their forecast, because we're going to have a clash. Okay, we're gonna have some cooler air here, and then maybe some warmer air in the east, and we're gonna have some severe weather that comes up in between, and some warm air advection from the Gulf and Atlantic, fueling moisture. So I think, and I think we'll have a couple cutter systems that comes in through here, and maybe one or two bring some snow for areas that haven't really seen it. So let's see what happens. Like Omaha, for example, Omaha, Nebraska, somewhere like over here. they have only 1 inch of snow so far this season, which is remarkable. I mean, New Orleans has more snow than them, so maybe this pattern brings you guys some for there. But yeah, that's the 8 to 14 precipitation outlook. That's the forecast. That's my video. Hope you enjoyed. Timestamps, it will be below. And yeah, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day.